Most people assume that taking vitamins, especially ones labeled as brain healthy or heart supportive, is a harmless, even beneficial habit, but recent findings from leading neurologists and cardiovascular researchers challenge that belief in a profound way. There's a growing concern around one particular vitamin, often praised for its role in immune support and bone strength, that when taken at the wrong dose or without proper cofactors, can significantly increase your risk of stroke. And the most dangerous time for this to occur? While you're sleeping. The body functions in rhythms, what scientists call circadian cycles. Your blood pressure naturally dips at night, your breathing slows, and your brain enters critical repair stages. During this phase, circulation to the brain is more delicate. That's why stroke risk is highest between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., when blood flow is already reduced and clotting mechanisms are more likely to activate if the conditions are right. Now imagine you've taken a high dose of a fat-soluble vitamin that thickens your blood or promotes arterial stiffness. The combination becomes a silent setup for a vascular event, and the vitamin in question, it's vitamin D3. You've likely heard of the benefits of D3. It supports calcium absorption, boosts immunity, and helps regulate mood. But here's the critical piece most people miss. D3 doesn't work in isolation. It has to be paired with vitamin K2 to ensure that calcium is directed into the bones and not into soft tissues, especially arteries. Without that cofactor, excess calcium starts depositing where it shouldn't, leading to arterial calcification. That's when the walls of your blood vessels, especially those supplying your brain, start to stiffen and narrow. Over time, this compromises cerebral blood flow, which can lead to microclots, memory decline, and in more serious cases, full-blown strokes. Many seniors are unknowingly taking 5,000 to 10,000 IU of vitamin D3 daily, often thinking more is better. But studies now show that doses exceeding 4,000 IU, especially without balanced K2 or magnesium, can promote vascular damage over time. And because D3 is fat soluble, it accumulates in the body. That means if you take it daily, the levels don't simply wash out, they build. If that accumulation leads to increased calcium in arteries, the damage is slow, silent, and systemic. You won't feel it until one day, circulation to a vital brain region is blocked during the vulnerable hours of sleep. What's more, D3 also impacts homocysteine levels, a lesser known but powerful marker of stroke risk. Elevated homocysteine thickens the blood and increases clotting tendency. This is especially problematic when you lie down to sleep, as your body enters a state where fluid dynamics slow. It's a perfect storm. But here's the good news. This risk is entirely modifiable. The answer isn't to fear vitamin D3, it's to take it wisely. That means first getting your blood levels tested. Optimal D3 isn't based on guesswork. Then pairing your dose with vitamin K2, preferably MK7 form, and magnesium to ensure calcium moves where it should. You should also consider timing. Taking D3 earlier in the day may be safer for those with vascular risks, as it won't interfere with nighttime blood flow. Finally, prioritize hydration, deep breathing, and light movement in the evening hours to keep blood circulating smoothly. Your brain is a high-demand organ. It requires precise blood flow to function properly, and small daily choices, like when and how you take your supplements, can determine whether that flow stays clear or becomes obstructed. Knowledge is power, but only when acted upon. This isn't about rejecting vitamins. It's about respecting how they work, honoring your biology, and making choices that don't just extend your life, but protect the quality of the life you're living. Most people reach for vitamins thinking they're doing something unquestionably good for their health. But science reveals a more nuanced truth, especially when it comes to the brain and cardiovascular system. One particular vitamin, praised for its immune-supporting, anti-inflammatory, and longevity-enhancing benefits, has recently come under scrutiny by brain health experts. Not because the vitamin itself is inherently dangerous, but because it's often taken without a full understanding of its effects on blood chemistry and vascular dynamics. This vitamin, when used improperly, has been linked to increased risk of arterial calcification, blood clot formation, and worst of all, strokes that occur silently during sleep. It's a wake-up call that even healthy choices must be rooted in biology. To understand how this happens, we need to look at what occurs in your body overnight. During sleep, your blood pressure naturally dips, your circulation slows, and your heart rate becomes steady and subdued. These changes are part of the body's nightly repair program. However, this same window makes the brain more vulnerable to low oxygen delivery or blocked circulation. And it's precisely why so many strokes happen between 2 and 6 a.m. Now imagine taking a vitamin that increases the viscosity of your blood or leads to calcium buildup in the arteries. This can transform a restorative sleep state into a high-risk period for a brain event that strikes without warning. That vitamin? It's vitamin D3. Often recommended to support bone health, immunity, and even mood, D3 is now one of the most widely supplemented nutrients in the world. But there's a side to it that few people discuss. D3 regulates calcium absorption. Without the presence of vitamin K2, which directs that calcium into bones, D3 can instead drive calcium into soft tissues, including arterial walls. When this happens repeatedly, it leads to arterial calcification, making the vessels less flexible and more prone to rupture or blockage. For the brain, this is catastrophic. Stiff arteries in the neck or skull restrict blood flow and increase stroke potential, especially during times when circulation is already naturally reduced, like during deep sleep. Additionally, D3 affects homocysteine metabolism. Elevated homocysteine, a sulfur heightening for amino acid, is a known risk factor for strokes and heart attacks. Without sufficient levels of folate, B6, and B12 to support methylation pathways, supplementing with D3 may unintentionally increase homocysteine levels. That means more inflammation, thicker blood, and an increased tendency to clot. Many individuals over 60 are unknowingly increasing their stroke risk by combining high D3 supplementation with deficiencies in these critical cofactors. The scary part, you won't feel any of this happening. There's no warning light in the brain. You only discover the problem when it's already too late. Fortunately, this is not a call to fear vitamin D3, but to use it with greater intelligence. The first step is testing your vitamin D levels through blood work before supplementing. Too many people supplement blindly without knowing their baseline. Second, always pair D3 with vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form, which has been shown to reduce arterial stiffness and redirect calcium back into bones. Third, consider the timing. Avoid taking D3 late in the evening. Instead, take it earlier in the day when your metabolism is higher and your cardiovascular system is more active. This reduces the likelihood of nocturnal blood thickening or mineral imbalance. Magnesium also plays a key role. It acts as a natural calcium channel blocker, meaning it helps regulate where calcium goes in the body. A deficiency in magnesium, which is common in older adults, can worsen the calcification effects of D3. So if you're supplementing D3 but not also monitoring your magnesium and K2 intake, you may be inadvertently setting the stage for cognitive decline, vascular damage, or worse. These decisions matter. Every supplement you take interacts with complex biological systems. They're not isolated, they don't act in a vacuum, and when taken without a systems-based approach, even healthy habits can carry hidden risks. Most people take vitamins with the best intentions. They want to feel better, stay sharp, and protect themselves against the effects of aging. It seems harmless, even beneficial, to pop a supplement or two every morning. But as we dig deeper into the science of brain health, stroke prevention, and vascular integrity, we begin to see a more sobering truth. There's one specific vitamin that's frequently marketed as essential for strong bones, immunity, and longevity, yet it comes with a hidden risk. When taken incorrectly, it may increase the chance of having a stroke, especially overnight when your body is in its most vulnerable state. This isn't a fringe theory. It's grounded in growing research that neurologists and cardiologists are sounding the alarm about. During the night, the brain undergoes a deep restorative process. Blood flow slows slightly, pressure drops, and the brain enters a repair mode. These changes are natural and protective unless something disrupts the balance. For example, if the blood becomes too thick or if blood vessels become stiff from internal calcium deposits, the system breaks down. The result? Increased stroke risk, particularly between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. when the body is in its lowest energy and circulation state. This is the critical time when strokes often strike, and the vitamin in question may be making things worse. Vitamin D3 is essential, but not without caveats. When you take high doses of D3, your body increases its absorption of calcium from food or supplements. Without enough vitamin K2 to guide that calcium into your bones, it can deposit into soft tissues, particularly blood vessels. That's when arteries lose their flexibility. The inner linings of your arteries, especially the ones that feed the brain, start to harden. That alone raises the chances of stroke, but it doesn't stop there. Calcium buildup also creates more resistance for blood to flow, meaning your heart and brain have to work harder to maintain oxygen delivery. If that effort falters during the night, the result can be catastrophic. And it gets more complex. D3 also influences homocysteine metabolism. Homocysteine is a natural byproduct of protein metabolism, but when levels are too high, it becomes a threat to blood vessels and brain tissue. Elevated homocysteine is directly linked to clot formation and stroke. If you're taking D3 without balancing your B vitamin intake, specifically B6, B9, folate, and B12, your homocysteine levels can quietly rise. You may feel it as brain fog, fatigue, or memory slips. But biologically, it's a brewing storm in your bloodstream. What makes this especially dangerous is that these symptoms can be subtle, and they're often dismissed as just aging. But they could be signs of a neurological system under vascular stress. The key here is not to vilify vitamin D3, but to understand how it works inside the system of your body. This is where true health optimization lies. It's not in taking the most supplements. It's in taking the right ones in the right balance at the right time. If you're supplementing with D3, the absolute non-negotiable is pairing it with vitamin K2, especially the MK7 form. MK7 stays active in the bloodstream longer and more effectively activates the proteins that prevent calcium buildup in arteries. Next, check your magnesium intake. Magnesium is essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions, and one of its major roles is preventing calcification by helping transport calcium properly. Without it, D3 can become procalcific. Also, timing matters. Taking D3 in the evening may increase risk for those with already compromised vascular systems. A morning dose is safer and more aligned with the body's natural rhythms. If your vitamin regimen doesn't account for these details, your biology, your vascular status, your other nutrient levels, then even a supplement with good intentions can become a silent threat. You're not just influencing your bones when you take D3, you're influencing the flow of blood to your brain, the elasticity of your arteries, and ultimately your cognitive future. The choice isn't whether to take D3, the choice is how to take it wisely. Most people have been led to believe that vitamins are simple, safe, and universally beneficial. We're told to take them daily to cover nutritional gaps and protect our health. But the truth is, your body isn't a machine that runs better with more of every nutrient. It's a delicate, highly regulated system. And sometimes, what seems like a healthy choice can silently disrupt that system. One particular vitamin, widely recommended for bone health and immune support, is now being closely examined by neurologists and stroke researchers for its unexpected role in vascular calcification and stroke risk. While it plays many vital roles, when taken improperly, especially in high doses and without balance, it can elevate your risk of brain damage while you sleep. It's not a matter of opinion, it's biology, and ignoring it could have serious consequences. This vitamin is vitamin D3. Essential, yes, but also powerful, and like all powerful compounds, it must be used with precision. Most people take vitamin D3 because of its reputation. It supports calcium absorption, boosts immune function, and contributes to mood regulation. But this benefit comes with a caveat. D3 increases the amount of calcium absorbed into the bloodstream without enough vitamin K2 to direct that calcium into bones and away from soft tissues. It can start building up in your arteries. The problem? These are the same arteries that feed your brain. Over time, this calcification reduces flexibility and narrows blood vessels. Your brain relies on consistent, smooth blood flow, and anything that interrupts that increases the risk of silent brain damage, or worse, a stroke. The danger becomes especially acute at night. During sleep, the body undergoes what researchers call nocturnal dipping. Your blood pressure lowers, heart rate slows, and brain activity enters a deep restorative state. It's a time for healing, but also a time of increased vulnerability. With lower pressure in the arteries, any increase in clotting risk or vascular rigidity can disrupt flow to critical regions of the brain. That's why so many strokes occur in the early morning hours before most people even wake up. If your arteries are stiffened from excess calcium and your blood is slightly thicker due to dehydration or poor methylation, the risks increase. What might have been a harmless supplement becomes a dangerous trigger. It doesn't end with calcium alone. Vitamin D3 also impacts homocysteine metabolism. Now, homocysteine is a normal compound produced by the body, but in high levels, it damages blood vessels and accelerates clot formation. Elevated homocysteine is a known risk factor for stroke, heart attack, and cognitive decline. So if you're supplementing with D3, but not maintaining optimal levels of folate, B6, and B12, the vitamins that help break down homocysteine, you may be silently raising your stroke risk. Unfortunately, symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, and memory lapses are often written off as signs of aging, but they can also be early indicators of vascular stress in the brain. The solution isn't to avoid D3, it's to optimize its use. First, always get your blood levels tested. You may not need high doses, and blindly supplementing can lead to toxicity over time. Second, D3 should always be paired with vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. This ensures that calcium is deposited where it belongs, in the bones, and not in arteries. Third, make sure you're also getting enough magnesium, which helps regulate calcium transport and supports over 300 biological functions. Without magnesium, your risk of calcium misplacement increases significantly. And finally, never forget the role of timing. Taking D3 in the evening may amplify its vascular effects during the hours when stroke risk peaks. Instead, take it in the morning when your body is naturally more prepared to absorb and regulate it. This is not about fear, it's about responsibility. Your brain is your most vital organ, and protecting it requires more than good intentions. It requires understanding. When we learn how nutrients interact in the body, how they influence blood flow, inflammation, and electrical signaling, we gain the ability to optimize not just lifespan, but quality of life. A well-designed supplement routine doesn't just prevent illness, it actively supports brain resilience, cardiovascular stability, and cognitive vitality. But this only happens when we move from automatic routines to intentional, informed choices. For years, vitamin D3 has been promoted as one of the most essential nutrients for health. It's known for supporting the immune system, strengthening bones, and even uplifting mood. But as research into brain health and vascular science evolves, a new and concerning narrative is emerging. While vitamin D3 is indeed critical, its improper use, especially in high doses and without the proper co-nutrients, may silently contribute to increased stroke risk. Many individuals over 50 are unknowingly putting their brains at risk, not because they're doing something harmful, but because they're missing a key piece of the puzzle: balance. The body doesn't operate in isolation, and neither should your supplementation routine. The first thing to understand is how vitamin D3 works. It's fat soluble, which means it's stored in the body, not flushed out like water soluble vitamins. It plays a key role in calcium metabolism, helping your gut absorb calcium more efficiently. This is beneficial when you need to strengthen bones. But here's the problem: if that calcium doesn't get directed into your bones, it ends up in soft tissues, most dangerously your arteries. And the brain is extremely sensitive to any restriction in blood flow. The carotid arteries in your neck and the tiny vessels that supply oxygen to your brain must remain flexible and open. When calcium builds up, these vessels harden, blood flow becomes more turbulent. Over time, this sets the stage for a stroke, especially during nighttime hours when circulation naturally slows. Now consider what happens during sleep. Your heart rate drops, blood pressure decreases, and your nervous system shifts into parasympathetic mode. This is when the brain should be healing, processing memories, and restoring neurotransmitter balance. But if your blood vessels are stiff or partially blocked, and if clotting risk is elevated due to nutrient imbalances, this restful state becomes a danger zone. Stroke risk increases significantly in the early morning hours for this very reason. If you've taken high doses of vitamin D3 late in the day without magnesium K2 or proper hydration, you may have inadvertently created conditions that promote blood stagnation and clot formation during sleep, and you would never know it until damage occurs. Adding another layer to this, vitamin D3 also interacts with homocysteine metabolism. Homocysteine is a byproduct of protein digestion, and elevated levels are a known marker for stroke and cardiovascular disease. If you're not getting enough B6, folate, and B12, nutrients that help metabolize and clear homocysteine, it builds up in the blood, making it more likely for clots to form. Many people who take D3 for its perceived anti-aging benefits do so without checking their B vitamin status. This is dangerous because the very supplement you're using to protect your health may be pushing your homocysteine levels into a range that silently increases your risk for vascular events. But the goal here isn't to avoid vitamin D3, it's to become precise in how you use it. First, never supplement blindly. Get a blood test to check your 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels. Optimal range varies from person to person, and some individuals naturally produce more D3 from sunlight exposure. If you're already in a healthy range, taking high doses can push you into toxicity. Second, always pair vitamin D3 with vitamin K2, ideally the MK7 form. This activates the proteins that guide calcium into bones and out of arteries. Without K2, D3 is incomplete. Third, make sure magnesium is part of your daily routine. It not only supports calcium transport, but also reduces arterial tension and supports healthy sleep patterns. Fourth, never ignore hydration. Even mild dehydration can increase blood thickness, especially at night. And lastly, be mindful of timing. Morning is best for D3. Taking it earlier in the day aligns better with your body's natural rhythm and reduces risk of overnight vascular complications. All this points to one essential truth. Even the healthiest nutrients must be used with intelligence. Supplements aren't magic pills. They're tools that affect powerful systems, your brain, your heart, your circulatory pathways. When used correctly, vitamin D3 can enhance your life, protect your bones, and boost your immunity. But when used carelessly, it can become a silent disruptor of blood flow and cognitive health. The answer isn't to fear this vitamin, it's to respect it. Know your numbers. Balance your intake, support your biology, and above all, never stop asking how every supplement you take is interacting with your brain's most vital functions. Because your brain doesn't need more pressure, it needs better flow, smarter choices, and nutrients that serve its true long-term vitality.